Hello everyone and welcome back to the final round of the GP Bike Road Racing Championship. Today we have of course the final two races of the championship. Most of the championship is sewn up, but it's still, I'm really trying to finish off on a strong result on our hand. Today we have first up, which is Macau, which is actually the other, we have it switched up for the video. We're playing the tracks back differently, so Macau technically is the very last race. And here we are now in qualifying. We also had Norris Ring, I'm not really sure what way it's pronounced. More about that later. That was the earlier race of the day, but first up here is Macau. Now Macau, probably one of the most famous tracks in the world, and it is really difficult. You're really close to the walls and you have to commit and attack this track, and I just don't particularly get on with it. I don't really get on with street circuits, road circuits. I'm a bit better on the Irish kind of road racing scene, where it's kind of, you can kind of cut across a hedge and get away with it, whereas like these metal black and yellow barriers, you don't get much leeway with them. So in qualifying I did my one flying lap, and that was a part that didn't have any more interest, and we actually set our fast ever lap around here, but still only good enough for middle of row 3 P8. So again, showing off that not the quickest here today in the first of these races, so I'm not really expecting much. I came into it not expecting much really, because I knew I hadn't done a lot of practice and I hadn't done a lot of setting up the bike, and I couldn't really, again, like I've mentioned a couple of times throughout this championship, that probably one of the biggest weaknesses of Honda is probably that it doesn't change direction very fast, and I felt like I was struggling to it very fast. When I was trying to commit, I couldn't get the bike left or right very easily. So yeah, so here we have now race one. Unfortunately, we did have the siding lap on and warm up. That was meant to prevent some lagging out and disconnects as the lights change. Unfortunately, wherever that was on my right, it did not affect it. We've got a great start. We jump a couple of people up here straight away to fourth. Unfortunately, we end up crashing. Now that might look weird, that crash, but basically Bob on the inside, just as I pass him, he kind of goes for the inside but then backs out. But that kind of, I have a little kind of chain reaction effect, and then I pick the bike up and I'm going towards end jerk. So what I do then is I'm not going to absolutely clean end jerk out. So what I do is I basically grab a handful of rear brake, try to pull the bike down, and in turn I end up sliding out. The second crash here, I reckon I just destroyed my tires in the first crash, because that literally just came around on me, and that was a very weird crash. So not off to a great start. We're passing a Smurf, I believe, there, who just had a crash there. So again, most of this first race is going to be pretty much a highlight package of me coming back through the pack, overtaking bikes. Here's another two on a Ninja, and I believe that is Oberon. So again, we're after gaining probably 4 or 5 positions back. We're not the only people that crashed in the opening lap. See here on this long straight, this yellow flag, and you can't really see where the bike is, so I just go really off the racing line. Again, I think that happens in as well in race 2. It's one of those ones where you go so far off the race line because you just don't know where the bike is. Here's another, I think it's 1 I just passed there on the ZX10, so we're passing a lot of people. And we get to the final lap now, and you'll see here in a second something very interesting happens. Making balls of turn 1, very interesting as you can see, but you probably won't be able to see on the map here, but there's 2 bikes in front of me. Nico Rosbach, who out-qualified me, and his teammate Turar, the NOS Racing R1s, I believe they are. And here we are, we fly up to one of them, I believe, which is Turar. I believe he's run out of fuel. I could be wrong, but he basically is sitting still there. I reckon it is a fueling thing. We fast forward now to later in the lap, and to be honest, right, after the few crashes at the start, I wasn't really in the mood for this track, but I kind of just, as an opposite, kind of just relaxed into it, because I was like, look, the race is gone. I don't have any pace. I don't have anything I can do with this. Let's just try and keep it out of the barriers. And that's kind of what we did. And we actually started, funnily enough, to go faster than we have. And we have cut right up to Nico, which I was really thinking, now, right, last sector, there's somewhere I'm going to lunge him. It's going to be into pretty much the last corner. So my first kind of instinct was, see, can we get the run right here? And we get a good run. In fairness, he does defend it nicely, and we've raced him not much so far in this championship, but I've had a bit of a speed advantage most places. So it's coming into this last corner, we get out of the penultimate corner, get a good run. Again, once again he defends it. We're quite a bit back, but he just goes a touch too defensive for my liking, and we basically just stick to the outside, brake deeper, and we pull down a tidy little overtake. And I was really happy with that, because we got a good recovery. We got back up to P6 after qualifying P8, finished P6. Overall, good results. So again, it was unfortunate for Nico, because I think he rode a pretty good race, but yeah, it does unfortunately end up sometimes like that. You don't always get what you deserve, but I just felt he defended very well into the first right, and then the second one, I think he just overcommits to the inside, and that compromised him. Obviously I knew if he went on the normal line I could have went to the inside, but I think it probably was just better to maybe stay in the middle of the road and make it a bit harder, but that is something I'm sure he can learn from. Race 2 here now again, so I'm critical now that we don't have a similar incident off the line. I want to get away nice and clean and get away with the front guys, because we're feeling a bit better, but unfortunately yeah, we get taken out straight away. So again, unfortunately, it's with Bob again, unfortunately, but to be honest, I don't think he sees me, and he gets a bit of a wheelie, and the bike just kind of, race starts at the hardest things. The bike is bouncing around and going left and right and up and forward. It's going everywhere but where you wanted to go, so not much he could have done. It's just a unfortunate racing into that start. I got a much better run, and I don't think he knew I was there, and as we kind of blanch past him, he just happens to unfortunately kind of almost like shuffle right, and again there you can see a couple more bikes, and we're kind of just weaving through them because we don't know where they are. But again, only one crash on the opening lap here. You can see Alpha Claw on the Honda, much quicker this week to me, or this racetrack shall we say. So he was kind of making a couple of attempts in it, so when he kind of got that close, I knew as soon as he came past, I'd just leave him have it, I wouldn't fight it. And again, you can see, look, it's a massive wheelie there, and then we have a little collision with him, and I think he has stayed on, thankfully, because it would have been unfortunate if he got a wheelie, hit a wall, and then came back into traffic and got collected. So I was eager at this point now to get ahead of Juan in front of me, because I knew the pace probably wasn't the strongest from the Kawasaki man. And I'm kind of thinking, where can I do it? And you know, I didn't think, just a split second decision, I'd go for it here. Oh, and physics has basically turned off there for a split second. Gravity in GP bikes and just open the downhill part sections of the track really can get a bit buggy at times, so any elevation change really in GP bikes is a bit of a really random effect can happen. So you saw there when we had a bit of rear brake on, as the road dropped away, it just like did a complete 180. But we are now back behind the two of them again. After Claus managed to get ahead of me after my little handbrake turn, and again he's kind of similar to me now. He's looking to want to get past straight away, so what I do is I take the normal race line into turn one. I think myself right now, got to run through one and then maybe get to run on them, and again the two of them go nice and wide. Kawasaki has tagged the wall. I get a better run past the two of them on the outside. I know I have the better race line through the very fast kink at turn two, and then you see here in a second we do get a green flag. I believe Alpha Claw, the other Honda man, was the unlucky loser in that three-man battle, and we're catching up now again to Smurf, I believe, and again he's just looking a bit kind of nervous. You can just see by his inputs, they're kind of bouncing around, and as he goes in here, just kind of picks up the bike and has a bobble, and then as soon as he kind of gets his knee back down front, it's completely gone. So we're actually, believe it or not, up to 5th. So again, this race is going pretty well. So I'm thinking now, right, most of the people ahead of me are faster and the people behind are slower, so let's just stay on the bike. And of course I couldn't do that for love nor money, and we end up having a crash, and of course we spawn facing the bars, so I have to roll myself back, get the bike into gear, go forward, and we only lose the one position, and that is to our man here on our ZX, and he's on the JG Speedfit Kawasaki from the BSB skin. Pretty cool looking bike. I probably would have ran the Kawasaki if it didn't sound so bad. This racetrack's so tight and twisty, it's really awkward. You can see we have a pace advantage over him, and I felt like I could make the move, but it's just so hard to not kill the guy in front of you and get through without contact. And again, it's kind of a accommodation to both parties that when the move gets done, that both riders were very amicable and actually let it happen, because it's so easy for people to kind of maybe just sit up or try and twitch or try and go for a cutback and put you in a wall. So again, fair play to Juan there, who gave me plenty of room when I went for it. And yeah, that is the end of race 2, and that would be in the championship. Of course, we do have an ice ring here now in a second. We end up at P5. It looked like a decent enough battle at the front. The pace at the front, I just couldn't touch it. I was seconds off. I think the last lap of race 2, I set my fastest lap ever around here on the bike, and I think it was like 3 seconds still off. So like, I'd had to start pushing more and more. But here we are now in Germany, and this is an interesting little track here. It's very short. It's only a 47, 48 second hands than most people. Lucky enough, so a couple of us jump into the 46s, but really interesting. It has a lot of history, this place, some not so good. We'll explain here in a second. You might notice there the building in the background. I'll give some very vague outlines of what the building is for, what it was used for, but here we are now on our fastest lap. You might notice that little building on the left. A certain Austrian gave speeches there in the war times, that's all I'll say. Take that what you will. If you basically Google the track in real life, it comes up a load of pictures of what I mean. But yeah, it's a pretty historic venue in Germany. You can see a big building there, a lot of people upstanding on it. That's not really what it was in days gone by. People were on what would be the racetrack looking up, but we do an absolutely belting lap here in qualifying, and we got P2. We're so close to qualifying on pole. We've yet to qualify pole, so unfortunately we didn't manage it for the whole championship, but Look Quite Rock on the BMW is absolutely rapid, and shout out to Bunt as well, putting his Suzuki on the front row. So once again, we have the warm-up lap, and we have the whole siding lap as well, so it'd be good to kind of see if we can actually make any benefit of this. So the goal for kind of the first race here was just see if we could get away with the BMW man and see what we could do against him. So we're on the front row, and if I kind of get a good drag race down to turn 1, might be able to get the lead, but again, we seem to get pretty decent start. We got a slightly better on him and getting a few wheelies, but it's a very, very ripply and kind of a bumper into turn 1. He doesn't kind of go for it, he kind of just sits there and hoping I go wide, but we do pull it down. And thankfully we have taken the lead, so very good start here, and it's 12 laps, a very short little race track we have here. So again, only like 47-48 seconds a lap, so not a really long one at all. But early on I noticed in this one, always in race 1, I'm a bit tenser, and again I just aren't letting the bike flow as well. And you can see Luke Hyde has done very well to get out of that chicane a little bit faster than me, taking the lead. Very early, goes a touch wide, but I just don't have the power to kind of square him up and get away, and I get a bit of a wheelie, and that's kind of it there now. So he's taking the lead, so I was unfortunate because we got the good start, we took the lead, and to be honest, I not tried to back him up, but I just tried to set my pace, whereas I didn't really think of defending too much. You can see how kind of uneven the road is coming into turn 1. It's very hard to consistently pull the bike down into turn 1 because there's so many ripples and bumps and kicks the whole way in. It's quite a fun little track to push at though, because really if you look at the track map, there's a very tight hairpin turn 1, you have this little chicane section, and you have a bit of a drag to another really tight chicane, then you have a very flat out kink section. So it's a really fun track for something that's kind of, so you could say, nearly 2D. It's very basic, but it led to some very good racing throughout the 2 races. So at this point now I'm thinking, I don't know if I can match him. I'm pretty close from his speed, but I'm just lacking something. He seemed to be comfortably a bit quicker, and I managed to kind of stretch above, probably beyond my limits in qualifying to qualify as close to him. So I know I'm really decent on the brakes, but we saw, if you could think back to Bathurst, he was very, very strong on the brakes. So it's going to be very difficult to kind of even catch him or overtake him. At this point, you can see he's just kind of taking a tenth or two out of me every lap. So it's a difficult one, because I feel just out of here he's really good compared to me. He gets away lovely, and I feel like maybe into turn 1 I pull back a small bit of brake, but you'll always have that kind of compression of time in the braking zone. You'll always look like we pull a bit closer. We do skip now to lap 11. Unfortunately, he was like a tenth a lap faster than me, just kind of went away. I pulled some time back here and there, but it was literally just a time trial this race. We really didn't have much on track action, and we were kind of head and shoulders faster than everyone else, so there wasn't really anyone come close to us. I think Bunta, who qualified on the front row, had a bad start and maybe were collected by someone. I think there was incidents from the riders behind, but you can see at this point now we're still trying to keep him on, trying to keep him pushed, because it's quite easy if you get into one of these braking zones. You can get a small kick, you don't have much runoff, so you could still have a very, very bad accident and end your race quite early if you make one slight mistake. So I was still trying to keep the pressure on, and we're running really, really fast lap times. Now we come to this last lap here, and I kind of just take the edge off, I back it off, bring it home. We have almost 10 seconds nearly to the rider behind, so I kind of just accept P2. The championship at this point, really, I was kind of confirmed P2. I think Luke Hyde would have needed like victories and me not to score to gain back the points he was missing. So it was looking like, regardless of what I was able to do in any of the 4 races that we had today, he could do it. So I just needed to score some decent points, and we're well on the cards here now to score a podium. So again, another podium, which is pretty good. So again, just ticking off some podiums. Fortunately, we haven't won many races. We only won the one single race, and that was, of course, at Alresmount, that very strong defensive performance against Billy Jones at the time. So it's going to be P2 here in the opening race 1, but I think I've kind of learned that I have to stay ahead of him for race 2 if I get the opportunity. As you can see, he's just a bit quicker than me, and unfortunately it looks like if he just gets that yard, he's really hard to pull it down, and I'm going to have to go over my limit to pass him. So for race 2, it was pretty clear that what I would do is I'd try and replicate my start, and then just be a bit more cunning when it came to my defending. So here we are now, race 2. The goal is simple: take the lead into turn 1. 4 red lights, and we are away after a long old hold. To be fair, feels like an age even watching it back now. Once again, we get the initial better start. I think he shifts to second a bit earlier than I do, gets a bit of a wheelie, but again, it just seems that when we get through the gears, you'll see here in a second, it just kind of appears out of nowhere. I think he's missed his braking marker more there, but he still was just about there, and we just square him off, and we kind of nearly run him out of the racing line slightly. So again, We just pinch a small bit on the brakes, then we just release the brakes, throw it across him, because it's imperative for this race that I basically stay ahead of him. If he gets the lead again, he has proven he's quick enough and he's well able to lead the race and go and basically dominate it. So I had to make sure in here that I was a bit better. So again, you can see maybe just slightly more defensive in here, parking towards the apex, because by the time you can get out of here, get through the kink, it's very hard to pull a move down into turn 1. You want to have a kind of substantial run and slipstream. So at this point now I was thinking, boom, lap 1 done, we're taking the lead. I've managed to kind of fend off his early attacks. So now it's just all about basically staying in a good position, keep my bike in a position well, and basically not making a mistake in these two heavy braking zones. We jump now to the start of lap 6, and it's basically the two men on the front row with me, Lukoid and Bunta. He goes for a very aggressive one around the outside, but basically we release the brake and pick the bike up and basically square him off. We won't let that happen. Again, when you go around the outside, it's nearly easier for the inside rider just to release the brake and run you out of the road. So that's kind of what I did. It looked like he kind of got a bit deep anyway and wasn't able to square it off, but again, we just made sure that we weren't going to be an easy target. And again, we've survived half race distance. Bunta is just hanging on just over a second off, so he's not a million miles out. So again, if we start scrapping, by no means is Bunta out of this podium hunt. So again, you can see it really close there, kind of skimming my head on the tyre barrier at the end. I'm just trying to squeeze every bit of performance out of this Honda as we get out of what will be the final corner on the run to the line. So again, he has a bit of slipstream, and just as we get to the braking zone, that BMW is kind of nearly leveling me. You can see every lap into turn 1 we are locked in the front. Fortunately this time he looks like he goes a little bit wide, touches the barrier that allows Bunta up into P2, and for me, I was thinking that was probably going to be the end of Lukai, but no, a lap or two later and he goes for a very similar move, goes wide again, but because he goes wide and gets a good run back, and that BMW is a missile, he gets a great run. You'll see now that he's brought Bunta right back into it. It's only 7/10 now separating the three men going for the victory, so it becomes ever more important that we get our braking markers into turn 1 done. As you can just see up the road there now, there's going to be a back marker appearing, and fair play to, believe it is Mark the host, he just pulls off. I think you can see there's a stormy battle going on for the race win here, so he just pulls off the race line in fairness to him, and leaves us kind of battle on. Luke Hyde again probably senses that I'm trying to square this off too much and not carry speed. He goes for a very clean attack, but unfortunately for him, he doesn't manage to get it done. I kind of just saw him appear, and I kind of knew then that would be enough for me to basically kind of cut him back. And again, he goes for this one that he pulled off in the first race, and in fairness, he's managed to do it once again. He's got it around the outside and got it done. We just don't seem to get the hook up like he does. And now you can see the Suzuki as well is putting me to shame. And now coming into turn 1, we're gone from first to third. Now there's a lot of shaking and kicking around. Again, I think Lukai is just pushing the brakes ever so slightly just to try and pull it down, and he's gone white again. I get the green flag, so I think he's down, and I look back and he's just there again. We cannot get rid of the Italian, and now we have Bunta to deal with. So Bunta finding some very good form here in Germany, and that Suzuki again has been very fast all season really. So I was at this point now thinking, right, I'm going to have to see if I can get on this back wheel, maybe try something into turn 1. So you can see it just goes slightly more opening with the race line through this last corner, and he just leaps out, and I'm thinking, oh no, this thing is really fast, but he makes a slight error, touches the barrier, puts him right off the race line, gives us a slight run. And in fairness now, once again, he goes to the inside to defend the race line, which is the kind of perfect thing to do, and I'm left nothing but to go for the outside. So I try to brake a little bit deeper around the outside and release the brake, and somehow manage to pull the bike down around the outside. And unfortunately, it does end up in a crash for Bunta. Unfortunately, it looks like he just touches the curb, and Luke Quadrock goes very deep trying to close the gap in back on the two of us. So we're kind of a lap and a half here left, and we now jump to the last corner of the race. I had about a second and a half to Luke Quadrock again. I just backed it off ever so slightly. These heavy braking zones, it's very easy if you just hit the wrong bump. The bike can just go straight on and into a barrier. I did it plenty of times in practice, but it is going to be enough for race win number 2, and that is of course the final race now for us of the championship. And it was a real good battle. Really enjoyed it. It was just one of those ones where you didn't know coming into the last few laps between the three of us who was going to win it. 3 different bikes, 3 different nationalities, and some good clean racing. It was just good fun. It was good fun always to come out of the win out of one of those, because nothing worse than having a great battle like that and ending up one of the losers. Now, here we are with the final season championship standings, and we are P2. In fairness, Foxer Boxer hadn't really featured much in this episode, but he was been, you can see all the wins and podiums there. He's absolutely been head and shoulders above the rest of the field this year. I finished second, kind of just from probably turning up most regularly, getting a couple of wins, good few podiums, but I don't think I really had enough pace in enough of the races, especially the kind of more questionable tracks. It definitely didn't show up. Luke Rock did miss a handful of races, which you could argue that would probably cost him P2 to me. And yeah, it was overall a pretty decent. Nico Rosbot and Bunter round out the top 5. So again, some different riders up the front. So it's good to see a very kind of different looking. So if you look at Bunter Japan, you've Nico Denmark, you've Italian, you've Irish, and you've Belgian. So you've a very interesting kind of world championship level standing there. So it was good to see, but it was overall a good championship. I'm quite glad it's done, but we do thankfully have another championship starting immediately. So at the time we're recording this, the 9th to the 1st, so we have a race starting on Sunday. Yes, so straight back into it, not even a week off from the ending of this one. We're starting the MESGP World Supersport 24 pack is what we're using. It's going to be a little kind of European championship. I think it's Jerez, Barcelona, Misano, and Assen. So it should be a good one. Again, I've managed to secure myself a team for that one as well. So I do look forward to that. And it's be a bit more what I'm used to, a bit more of the norm. And hopefully we can maybe bag a win or two in that one as well. But that'll be much more the kind of classical stuff you've seen on the channel. But we are going to leave it there for today. Hope you have enjoyed. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I shall catch you in a future video in the not so distant future. Thanks for watching. Slán go fóill.